The Challenge Cup gave us some of the most competitive games of the weekend. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. We did have the one blowout, but three fairly close-ish games, especially the middle two. And decent rugby all around. Especially like the first game kind of, I think, set us off on a good weekend, and we're going to start with that one. Obviously, it was Edinburgh versus the Bulls, and it was Edinburgh 34, Bulls 28. So Edinburgh get a great start. Like, they get a couple of early tries. They actually get 3 tries altogether in the first half, and a penalty as well. And then the Bulls get over once. I think that was Creel. And we're at 24-7 at half time. Bulls not really, in the game, but they did have, an early yellow card to Berger, as Edinburgh were piling on the pressure. Then we go into the second half thinking, okay, well, Bulls, they need to get a good start to the half. They get Kirsten yellow carded instead. He could have been red carded at that point. But yeah, he gets the yellow card. So lucky really, it was only 10 minutes in the bin for him. And then, second half, Edinburgh, they do get another try and a couple of penalties as well from Thompson. But, the Bulls, they come back themselves with, a second try for Creel. Hanekom got over, and then they get a penalty try as well. And they were helped, I think, by McCann going to the bin, about 5 minutes after Kirsten, in that second half as well. But then late on, Kirsten was involved in another incident where, he was pinged for, I think it was a high tackle, right? And referee said it was penalty only. And I said it in my review of the game as well. By the way, yeah, there's a long form review of this on the channel if you want to go watch it. But yeah, I said in that one as well that he was very lucky, because I'm pretty sure the referee knew who it was and went penalty only, because he knew that if he gave a yellow, it was a second yellow, and then he was going to be off for the game. But the Bulls, they didn't pick the best side, but still, some decent players on there. I thought when Houston come on at 10 for Johannes, he certainly had an impact, and Kane and Moody off the bench was brilliant too. But for Edinburgh, you had the likes of Richie was excellent. Watson as well in that back row, but Bradbury was probably the standout of the 3 in that back row. Then Velicott had an excellent game. Price came on. Price got most of the second half, because Velicott was injured, right? So I think Price actually came on at half time, as far as I remember. But Price guided him pretty well. Then Schumann off the bench as well. Some good impact from the bench from Edinburgh as well. And the fact that the Bulls hadn't picked their best side, even though they did have some decent players coming off the bench, they didn't have enough to actually come back fully against an Edinburgh side, to my mind, that deserved to go on to the semi-final. So well done to Edinburgh, and kind of surprised that they were the Scottish team that really turned up at the weekend. Glasgow not doing so in their own quarterfinal in the Champions Cup. But final score was Edinburgh 34, Bulls 28. Okay, on to the next one then. So Ospreys versus Lyon, and it's Ospreys 18, Lyon 20. So this one, I think really an opportunity missed for Ospreys, a chance to get themselves into a semi-final. Yes, they're playing a team who, in this competition are always there or thereabouts, in the finals, lifting the trophy, etc. in recent years. But still, home advantage for Ospreys, they should have taken advantage of it, but they were kind of chasing the game the whole way. So, we started off with Retes, scoring early for Lyon, converted as well. Then Edwards pops over a penalty for Ospreys, but only a couple of minutes later, Berdu puts one over for Lyon, and then we have a try from Jack Morgan that brought Ospreys level, I think, at that point, right? But then Berdu, another penalty from him, and Lyon are leading 13 points to 10 at the break. And then in the second half, kind of a similar story of Lyon, going a little bit further ahead, and then Ospreys coming back as well. So, the tries in the second half. So you had Guillard went over on about 50 minutes, converted. So that put Lyon out to 20 points, which is their final score. And then it was only the last 10 minutes then that McGuigan gets over for a try for Ospreys. And then they couldn't muster enough to come up with a winning score, unfortunately for them. But, fair play to Ospreys as well, getting to this stage in the competition, because it's good to see Welsh teams going a little bit deeper into the European competition. Would have been brilliant to see them get to a semi-final. Wasn't to be for them, but you have to give Lyon credit for their performance as well. Final score then was Ospreys 18, Lyon 20. Okay, on to then absolutely crazy game of the weekend, Connacht versus Racing 92. So full review of this one on the channel as well, so you can find about all of the craziness that happened in this game there. But Connacht get a brilliant start to the game. Like, they race out to the lead. I think 2 or 3 tries up, and we had Tuvi sent off after 12 minutes for head-on-head tackle with no mitigation. And then from there, Racing are the best team for the rest of the game. With 14 players, they came together, and they really came back at Connacht. Like, halftime score was 28 points to 24. Like, Aki had gone over for Connacht to open the score. Prendergast, I think he got a couple of tries in the first half, and then Murphy as well over for them. And then before he got sent off, Tuvi over for Racing as well. I think like both teams scored in the early minutes of the game. But then, like, they get Escobar and Garrick over as well before the break, and they're only 4 points back. And in the second half, then they win the second half. Garrick with a couple of tries, Tuisova there as well, and Racing actually had a decent lead, and it was Connacht who were trying to come back at them. Ford gets over, and then they get a penalty try as well. And then, but they're still 3 points back, and that, like, Farrell had come on for Connacht, or for Racing, sorry, and he dropped the goal as well. But then, he went to the bin with about 4 minutes to go. So Connacht had a chance to potentially, send it to extra time, or even get a score to win the game, but they again, just not able to muster it, and Racing deservedly winning there. Fantastic performance. If you add on the time of the clock being in red, red card at 12 minutes, but like it went to 80 whatever. 70 minutes basically with 14 men with a man down, and then only 13 with 4 minutes to go. But Connacht, they couldn't do enough in the time that they basically ran out of time to be able to actually completely exploit that. But Connacht, they didn't, like, brilliant start to the game, but they didn't seem to know what to do when Racing went down to 14. Like, Racing were keeping the play tight, and Connacht were just going along with them. They weren't trying to get out to the width. They weren't putting in, kicks in the backfield to force Racing to maybe drop somebody out of their line, to create space. It felt like, I said it again in long form review, that they're kind of missing someone to really guide them. I know they have Hanrahan there, but they don't really have a guide in terms of tactics. Generally you expect the 10 to be there, to kind of do that kind of stuff. But Hanrahan going back to Munster now next year, you wonder who's going to be there as the main 10 for Connacht next season, in terms of are they going to bring somebody in, like, other than the fact that the both of the Burns, like Harry Byrne at the moment over in Bristol, extended his time over there, and then you got Ross Byrne going to Gloucester next year. I was just kind of thinking, well, maybe like for somebody like Frawley, it would be a decent move for him to go to Connacht, because he's kind of just fallen off the edge of a cliff in terms of his positioning within Leinster, and his position, having been in the Ireland squad as well, that he's kind of a bit of a forgotten man now at this stage, that, maybe moving him to Connacht would be good. But then you wondered, well, with Ross Byrne out of the way, he's probably, next in line behind Prendergast, and we'll see a lot of game time at Leinster next year, and maybe you want to stay there. So we'll have to see with that. But Connacht definitely need somebody better at 10. But Racing, again, got to give them credit. Like, I thought Legaric was excellent for them. Young Ben Lancaster as well. Stuart Lancaster's son was there, and actually Stuart Lancaster was in the crowd there to Dexcom, just over watching the son, because obviously he got sacked by Racing, so he's not there in an official capacity. But yeah, he was pretty good for them. I thought Spring as well, on the left wing, looked decent, and then like their back row as well, the likes of Joseph in there, and then Taufi Fanua when he come on to having decent impact for them. But yeah, they played excellently with 14 men, better than they did with 15. But final score, Connacht 40, Racing 92-43. And then on to the final game of the weekend, and this is a bit more of a blowout. This is really the only blowout that we had in this quarterfinals for this competition. So Bath versus Gloucester, and it was Bath 61, Gloucester 26, and Bath winning, leading 33-19 at half time, and then the second half, then they just pulled further away. So like that, tries from the Glanville, Dunn, Griffin, Spencer, Barbary twice, Coetzee, Hill, and Carr Smith, and Gloucester 4 tries themselves, Carrera, Singleton, Morris, and Ludlow. But yeah, it was very much one-way traffic in this particular game, and a really tough day for Gloucester, and like Gloucester looked decent all the way through in this competition. Bath, since they dropped down from the Champions Cup, it feels like certainly on European terms, this is more their level. They didn't really compete at the Champions Cup level, but down at Challenge Cup level, they look good. They kind of look similar to kind of the Sharks last year. A team with some outstanding players that can produce performances, especially if they're taking things seriously. And given this result, I think Bath definitely taking things seriously as well. And in terms of like how the game went, so like back it over after 3 minutes, and then Carreras a couple of minutes later is over for Gloucester. So it looks like it's going to be tit for tat. But then a couple of tries from Bath, then Singleton over for Gloucester. Then another try for Bath. Morris gets over for Gloucester. But then Barbary gets the first of his tries just before half time, and then another one like 10 minutes after half time. And then Kutsia is over and Hill is over. And at that stage, by the time, Ludlow goes over for Gloucester, the game is already well gone at that stage. And Carr Smith goes over, in the final couple of minutes of the game, and things are done, But Fryn Russell had an excellent game for them, pulling the strings, kicking his conversions as well. And even like a yellow card to Ted Hill, when was that? Like 26 minutes or something for Bath. It didn't really faze them, that they're down to 14, and actually it's Spencer who gets over to score, and then Morris gets over for Gloucester, but that's only just at the end of the yellow card period, So Bath kind of did well during that period as well. Kind of the one time that Gloucester maybe felt like they had a bit of a chance, but second half, no chance. So final score, Bath 61, Gloucester 26. So let's have a look then at the semi-final lineups. Let me bring it up here on the... Yeah, there we go. Okay, so the first semi-final is Saturday, 3rd of May 2025. It is a 3 o'clock kickoff at the Hive Stadium, and it's Edinburgh versus Bath. Edinburgh, that's really is a bit of a banana skin for them, I think. They seem to struggle against English teams for whatever reason, and they will have to step up the game for that. Bath will look at Edinburgh and think, okay, well, they probably prefer to be going there than to be heading over to France for a semi-final. So they're definitely going to be thinking that they have a chance. Edinburgh definitely going to have to be on their best as well to win that one. So interesting one there. Then the other semi-final, Sunday, 4th of May 2025. It's a 12:30 kickoff, and this is at the MacLeod Stadium de Gerland, and it is Lyon Olympique versus Racing 92. So an all French affair there. And, again, Lyon are kind of the past masters, especially in recent years in this competition. Racing 92, a club who, massive budget, lots of stars over the years, always kind of, churning through different stars, especially at 10. And, they've a chance now potentially to reach a final. Can they produce, though? Because, one of the things of Racing in Europe in recent years is that they've produced good performances, but not necessarily good campaigns. So if they're to do it, they'll have to change that. They'll have to, perform in this game and beat Lyon, and perform in the final again. And you wonder whether they actually have that in them or not to do that. So, and as well, Lyon home advantage, and not just home advantage to the stadium, but it feels like this competition as well is good home advantage for them because they're more used to it. It shouldn't matter, but for whatever reason it does, right? So again, another one, and it feels like looking at it, they look like tight semi-finals, but it doesn't mean that one team isn't going to just absolutely batter their opposition in those semi-finals. But yeah, looking forward to those, and we will be covering them in full. So we'll have the usual previews in the week running up. We'll have reviews of both of the games, and then a wrap up similar to this once the weekend is done as well. But that's that for now. We will have your previews coming up towards the end of the week, and we have reviews over the weekend as well. We probably won't have, I think we probably won't have a wrap up for the URC unless I do it on Sunday, because next week I'm going away for a week. So next week there may not be any videos at all. It depends on how things are, whether I can get the time or not. But I probably will just take a break for a week just to kind of recharge the batteries and stuff. And then like we might have, because I'll be back on the Saturday, so I won't be doing anything on the Saturday because I'll be traveling. But maybe the Sunday or the Monday we'll have like a wrap up of the weekend, but we won't have like the usual run in and stuff like that. That's for next week, not for the weekend coming, like for next weekend. But yeah, that's it for this one. So let me know what you think down in the comments.